All right, welcome everybody. Thanks for joining us for the Teen Rex pop-up Blackshare. Woo woo! Let's give it up, Tyler, Natalie in the house. Yeah! Yes, that's the enthusiasm we're here for. All right, we're going to kick it over to Tyler to get this going. Thank you all for joining us. We'll do some questions at the very end. So we're on a bit of a tight turnaround. You may have noticed a lot going on, but it's okay. It's going to be great. All right, let's give it up for Tyler.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you all for coming. Who has heard about Teen Rex? All right, awesome. You're in the right spot. What a week, right? I mean, this is just such a remarkable discovery. And I wanted to give everybody kind of the backstory on this amazing, amazing discovery. And so it all started with these three here. We have them here in the audience. So can we get the Fisher family to stand up? The Fisher family right here. Such an incredible story. So we've heard the story about these three intrepid fossil finders going out with their dad and making this remarkable discovery. And so, of course, they made this discovery in the Hell Creek Formation. So this is what the Hell Creek Formation looks like. These are the Badlands of southwestern North Dakota, and they're up in South Dakota and Montana as well. Here's where the outcrop of the Hell Creek shows up in various states. And this place right here, Marmarth, North Dakota, is where I'm from. It's where the Fisher family's from. And it's where they made, just south of Marmarth, is where they made their remarkable and just truly inspiring discovery. And so the Hell Creek Formation is just, it's host to the most famous dinosaurs, right? And just some really, really incredible finds. There have been several mummified dinosaurs found in this area. So here's the hand of Dakota, the dino mummy, an Admonosaurus dinosaur. There's wonderful Triceratops from this rock unit. This is one from our collection that has lots of skin preserved on its backside there. And then there's Anzu Wiley, and then of course there's the most famous dinosaur of them all, Tyrannosaurus rex here. And so this one is Sue, the T-Rex. And so not only does this rock unit have sort of the most famous dinosaurs like Triceratops and Admonosaurus and T-Rex, but it's also really, really important because it preserves Earth's last dinosaur ecosystem, right before they went extinct 66 million years ago. So this is one of the few places in the world where you can go find dinosaur, and then literally have the line in the sand, the Cretaceous-Paleogene boundary, and above that, no more dinosaurs. So super famous for both of those reasons. And so this was my backyard as I grew up in southwestern North Dakota. Just the best place to grow up if you love dinosaurs, am I right? And so, again, this was me as a kid, right? So as a kid, I was going out and looking for and finding dinosaurs, right? And I had incredible fashion, right? Chicago Bulls. But this is part of the reason why this story and this discovery is so special, this discovery by Jessen, Liam, and Caden and their father, Sam. It's because when I was a kid, it reminds me of my own story. I mean, I would go out with my uncle, my brothers, and my cousin. We'd jump in the back of the truck and drive out to the Badlands and look for, find fossils. And that was my paleontological start. And one of my mentors here was somebody that a lot of you might know. This is Dr. Kirk Johnson. He was here for a really long time, and he's now at the Smithsonian, one of my dearest friends. And so he helped provide the mentorship, and without his mentorship, I know that I wouldn't be where I am today. So I have a lot to say about that. But so imagine my delight when Sam starts sending me photos of his kids here, Justin and Liam, and he's like, hey, Tyler, so Sam and I went to high school together. And so Sam starts texting me, he's like, hey, my boys and I are looking for fossils. They want to be a paleontologist, and like, we're finding cool stuff. And so he'd send me pictures of like seashells and petrified wood and other cool rocks. And I'd be like, there's dinosaurs out there. Like, if you keep looking, you're definitely going to find a dinosaur. And so over the years, he'd send me these awesome photos. And then in 2022, I get this text from Sam. What an amazing scale bar, right? So here's Liam. We got Liam right down here. And Liam's got his cowboy boots on with his pants tucked in. I mean, North Dakota through and through, right? I love it. And he's lying down next to this leg of a dinosaur. And what a thing. So Sam texts me the photos. He's like, any idea what this could be? And he even says, like, Liam's 3'8". So it's like the best scale bar I've ever had. And so here's a close-up of the photo he sent me. And you can see it's a knee joint, right? This is the end of the femur. Here's the tibia. Here's some broken up bone. And so they were out looking for dinosaurs. They didn't stumble on this. They were out looking for dinosaurs, and they made an incredible find, which I think is just amazing. And so to me, it looked like the leg of a duckbill dinosaur. There's not a lot of diagnostic things on the knee joint there. And so based on the photos, I thought, it was probably a duckbill. And so that's what I tell them. It's probably a duckbill dinosaur. And then I'm thinking, like, a couple days later, I'm like, Sam, whose land were you on? Right? Because ownership is a really big thing. These dinosaurs can sell for a lot of money, and getting access to land is really, really complicated. And so he was like, hey, it's on BLM. And that was great news for all of us. So I text him back, and I'm like, that's awesome, because I can get the excavation permit, and we can go out there with my team and your team, the family, and we can dig up this dinosaur together. How awesome does that sound? And so that's what we decided to do. And so that's how we got the dinosaur together. It was on land that was accessible to us. And then the last piece of this puzzle, which I think is just really, really cool and fortuitous, is in about April, Giant Screen Films here reaches out. We have some folks from Giant Screen Films here in the front. We have one of the co-producers of the show, Andy. And so Courtney comes by my office, and Courtney's like, hey, there's somebody from Giant Screen Films here, Don Kemp, and he's doing a documentary on T-Rex. It seems like that's something you might want to know about. And I'm sitting in my office thinking deep thoughts about turtles, of course. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, I study the Hell Creek Formation. Yeah, we should probably chat. And so Don then puts me in touch with Andy, and Andy's like, we're doing this IMAX and giant screen film on T-Rex, and we need a film, or we need a shot. We need an excavation in the Hell Creek Formation. And I'm like, man, Andy, like I don't have a T-Rex, sorry. But I said, I have a dinosaur made for TV, right? I mean, kids find cool dinosaur. It doesn't get any better. Or so I thought, right? Unless it's a T-Rex. So so I talked to Andy, and Andy's like, okay, well, we'll come out and join you for 2 or 3 days, and we'll document the film, or we'll document the dig, and it'll be in this film. So he planned on, his team joined us for planning on coming out for 2 or 3 days. And so that's how we lined up the film crew, right? So it's all very fortuitous, all very, very fun. So then July 3rd rolls around, and the fossil finders lead my crew as well as the film crew out to their dinosaur just south of Marmouth. And we start. So we do all of the establishing shots and whatnot. And ahead of this, I had started to analyze these photos that Sam had sent me in a little more detail. And you might be able to see the bone and how the bone is breaking up. The bone is breaking up like porcelain or like glass, and that's indicative of a meat-eating dinosaur. So I had suspicions that this might be a meat-eating dinosaur ahead of time. And I sent this picture to some pretty famous dinosaur paleontologists at other major museums. I won't say who. And I'm like, am I crazy, or is this a T-Rex? And they're like, nah, man, it's a duckbill dinosaur. I'm like, yeah, okay, that jives. I mean, duckbills are the second most common dinosaur. But then we get out to the locality, and we're like, God dang, that really looks like we're like, don't say it. Don't say the T word, right? And so we had this kind of rolling around in our heads. And so again, the giant screens out there, they're filming everything. And so we finally get done with all the establishing shots and whatnot. And Justin and I go over to the spot where I thought we'd find a diagnostic bone. Like I thought we would find a cervical or a neck bone. And that'd be a very diagnostic bone. And so Justin and I are going over there and we brush and we dig with our awls and we brush and we dig. The cameras are rolling and all of a sudden clink. And I do a little brushing and Justin points down. He's like, what is that? Is that a claw? And I go, shh, because you could tell it was a tooth, right? So I pick it up and we brush a little bit more. He gasps. All of this is captured live on camera, right? Like this raw excitement was captured. And so we lock eyes and I just sort of whisper, T-Rex, right? And his eyes get really big and my eyes get really big. And we just share this moment. And then we just exclaim to the rest of the group, we just found a T-Rex. And it was just such a cool moment because we had, I think, 15 interns with us on the outcrop. We had the whole family. Danielle was there, and Danielle starts crying. I mean, the emotion, it was just such an emotional moment for everybody involved. And so, yeah, it's a moment that I certainly will never forget. And so this is the one tooth right there. And so we brushed it off, and you could then see that's the tooth we knocked off, and then you could see a couple more teeth. And so we knew that they had made just an absolutely remarkable find. And so everybody's just going nuts. We're super excited. And now it's time to get to work. So now I'll hand it off to Natalie Toth, Chief Fossil Preparator.
Wow. Such an exciting time. All right, so, we have this amazing discovery, and the fossil preparator in me is thinking 20 steps ahead. How the heck are we going to get a T-Rex off the top of this hill? And then what are we going to do with it thereafter? And so when we first started to uncover the fossil, you probably saw in the last photo and in this photo also that we're using a lot of really gentle tools. So you'll see things like brushes and scalpels. You might notice that there's kind of a halo around these, and that's for all of the glue that we dumped onto this fossil to try and keep it intact as we were collecting it. And so the next steps are to figure out where kind of the tip of the nose and the tip of the tail are, if that's there, for this dinosaur to make sure that we can collect every single part of it and that we leave nothing behind on the hill. So I love this photo. This is kind of the first few days of the dig, and I'm standing on the ledge that is, or I guess I'm not because I'm right here, but someone is standing on the ledge taking this photo, and this dinosaur unfortunately died underneath about 15 to 20 feet of overburden. So that means that we need to take about 15 to 20 feet of mudstone and sandstone off the top of this hill so that we can get the skeleton out. And the way that we do that is with our army of interns. So we have a whole bunch of folks here you can see with different types of tools, shovels and pickaxes and all that. Tyler and I had long dreamed about driving a bulldozer to the top of this hill, getting a crane to lift it up and scraping the top of the hillside off. Unfortunately, logistically, that's not possible. But, we had so many folks out there, interns and all the kids in the family, lots of eager, happy, willing hands to help. Evan just owning it on this pneumatic jackhammer. Lots and lots of jackhammer time out there to get the overburden off. And you can start to see the shape of this fossil or the skeleton encased in this big blob of sand starting to take shape. So the very kind of tip of the nose, we'll say, of this dinosaur is over on this end, and that extends all the way down to the dinosaur's back foot, which is contained in this block here. And again, you'll notice we still have to take quite a bit of rock off the top of this fossil. What was really cool is as we were excavating, we have this really beautiful, this is part of the dinosaur's jaw, the T-Rex jaw, with these really neat teeth poking out that Tyler showed you. But we were also collecting a whole bunch of really beautiful fossil leaves from this quarry as well. You can think of this as some kind of meandering river deposit, similar to like the Mississippi Bayou today. So this is what the Hell Creek looks like when you go out and walk around the Badlands of North Dakota today. And this is similar to what it would have looked like, 66, 67 million years ago when the T-Rex was alive. And you can see lots of really great, luscious vegetation everywhere, and it's really cool that we have a lot of that preserved inside the block with this T-Rex. And I included this slide because this work, it takes a village, right? It was such a special dig because we had so many people out there to share this with. Not only the Fisher family and Caden's family and folks from the local community, but there were also folks out there from, all different parts of the state, all different parts of the region, and then a whole bunch of folks were so excited about this from Denver as well that they came up to join us, which was really special, really, really exciting. So here you can see the shape of this fossil, the blob of rock that the fossil's in starting to take shape. This is Aiden, one of our interns for Scale, and so our next step is thinking about how can we kind of protect this or encase it to safely transport it back to Denver. The way in which we do that is we first cover it with a layer of separator. So this is all wet paper towel that you see over the surface. And we apply this to make sure that the plaster that we're going to put on for the protective casing doesn't stick directly onto the surface of the fossil. It'll stick to the paper towel and keep the fossil safe. We then dunk these sheets of burlap into liquid plaster and cover the entire surface of the fossil with this plaster bandages, and we just repeat that process over and over and over again. I love these photos because this is Emily. She was one of our colleagues out there for Scale, and I think it really just shows the size and shape and scale of this skeleton. We say teen Rex or juvenile dinosaur, and it's still pretty big. What's really interesting too is you can see that we have this kind of hanging blob off the bottom of the jacket here. This is the lower leg of the T-Rex, so the shin bone and part of the foot. And you'll see in the next slide, we actually decided to take this off of the main blob so that we didn't have a dangling part of the jacket as we were thinking about collecting it. This was just to keep the fossil a little safer. We also applied this big support structure here of all these 2x4s to reinforce it or give it a little bit of extra strength as we were going to eventually have to flip this fossil over. And you can see in this picture on the right here, this is the next step. So we start to mushroom in or pedestal in underneath of what's encased inside of the fossil jacket here. And it really gets to a point where, you're really sticking, I got a pretty big wingspan, right? And my whole arm is chewing in under the jacket to get it on a teeny tiny skinny mushroom stem that we will eventually crack and flip over. This is the scariest part of collecting any type of fossil, dinosaur or otherwise, and that is the flip. So the entire underside of this is encased in plaster, right? We're upside down coating this in layers of plaster and burlap. But there's still a chance that when we flip this thing over, the dinosaur could completely fall out of the bottom. So this moment of flipping this is, the scariest 10 seconds of flipping any fossil. The way that Tyler and I figured out how to do this, this is the F-350 field truck, and these are two giant toe straps that we have fed underneath of the jacket through two tunnels that we dug underneath of the T-Rex skeleton. And I'm driving the truck. Tyler is up here with a radio, and this is attached to the trailer hitch on the back of the 350. This gives you a better angle of this. And let's see. There we go. Tyler basically says, hit the gas, get ready to go, get ready to go. See Tyler up here with his walkie. I'm reliving the anxiety right now. Oh, and that is just the best feeling, right? Nothing falls out of the bottom. Yes. Oh my goodness. Yes. So the skeleton all flipped in one big piece. Everyone can breathe a sigh of relief. Wow, wow, wow. Okay, phase one is done. Flipped it over. Love this shot where you can see, these are the skinny little pedestals that this thing was sitting on, holding up a 6,000-pound block of a dinosaur, which is pretty crazy. Everybody helped trimming it down and closing it up, and I love this picture. It shows everything kind of all buttoned up and packaged up. And then we have to think about the next step of, okay, it's in the net, and it's on top of the hill. now what? How do we get it down? And the way that we figured out, how to do this is Tyler made a few phone calls, and we decided to enlist the help of a Black Hawk helicopter. And here's a picture of, some of the crew that was out and able to help us out with all of that. And so I think this is a video too. Yes. Okay, so a little backstory about the helicopter. We told them, we estimate that it weighs between, 5,000 and 6,000 pounds. The helicopter tells us that it's able to lift about 8,000 pounds. And the helicopter gets out here, and it's, we hook in the little tow line here, and we're waiting. And we're waiting, and we're waiting, and the helicopter is stalling here, and Tyler and I are both like, oh my God, it weighs more than 8,000 pounds. It's not gonna come off the top of the hill. We need a bigger helicopter. Again, another, just one anxiety moment after the other with this whole collection process. I can't remember, Andy, is this your crew just getting like totally sandblasted? Yeah, no kidding. You can imagine our delight to see this thing, a flying dinosaur, finally get carried off of the butte. That's great. So the helicopter flies. We have a huge flatbed trailer that's parked just up the way. Was able to, these shots are so cool, right? You're able, the techies here had cooked up the lift line, and then the field truck is parked just down there on one of the oil roads nearby, safely drops it onto the back of the trailer. What was so special too, so after we collect this fossil, we have to drive back through town and, pack everything up for the night. And these are the folks that are some of the teachers and staff and students at the same elementary school that Tyler went to when he was a student in Marmarth. So super special to be able to share that with all of them, all the kids and students that were there. And I'm sure for all of the boys here, being able to share that with some of your peers was pretty cool too. You can tell them, no, believe me, I did collect a T-Rex. So I love this great, glory shot. This is Tyler driving the big field truck back to DM&S. And, again, Tyler had mentioned this earlier, but it's just so remarkable to me that this entire experience was captured all on film. It's all in the Giant Scream film T-Rex, which is so special, so much raw emotion, like to actually find out that this thing is a T-Rex for a documentary called T-Rex, I think is all pretty cool. Okay, so kind of the last step of all of this is we get it back to the museum, and we call Jeff Joplin and Kenneth, and we're like, we have a 6,000-pound dinosaur that we need to bring into this building. And they were like, that's too much weight. That's too much. You need to take some weight off of this thing. So we actually open this up. This is out at the loading dock. There's the big dumpster here, and our entire team started to peel layers of sand and mud off of the bottom of this field jacket so that we could get it down to the appropriate weight to bring it inside. And we, were able to get enough weight off of it. We call Kristen to bring it into the building, and then we start the kind of gentle initial exploratory phase of finding out kind of some of the cool things that might be exposed in this, including this beautiful T-Rex tooth. And we knew that we were gonna eventually put this in, some type of experience and build a fossil preparation lab. And so we only wanted to remove one element from this whole field jacket. And so the thing that we chose to remove was this beautiful tooth. Such a pretty showpiece. So for folks that haven't been in the exhibit yet, this is what it looks like in there. This is our T-Rex prep lab. This is Alex. Alex is the one that's going to be scraping the dirt off of this fossil and preparing it. She's our fossil preparator for the T-Rex lab. Some of the tools and things that we use to clean dinosaur fossils, a lot of this probably looks really familiar. At least I hope this looks familiar. So, the thing that's probably unfamiliar up here is this tool. This is called an air scribe, and it runs on compressed air. Basically acts like a little miniature jackhammer to gently remove the rock from the surface of the fossil without damaging the fossil. We use a whole bunch of different types of glue in the lab. I never, as an adult, thought that I would know so much about glue that I do right now. But we use a whole bunch of, these are all reversible glues. They're basically just little pieces of plastic that are dissolved in nail polish remover. And we apply this to the surface of the fossil at different concentrations. The nail polish remover evaporates, but it leaves these teeny tiny little microscopic pieces of plastic behind inside of the fossil, so it makes it stable from the inside out. And we also use different types of super glue. What's crazy to me is that there's a company actually called Paleo Bond that makes super glue for dinosaur bones. And we use a lot of this for fossil repair in the prep lab. And that's where I'm going to pass it back over to Tyler. So I guess stay tuned for Teen Rex Prep.
All right, so just real fast to wrap up. So a few facts about this skeleton. So like, how complete is it? We do not have a complete skeleton. Very rarely do you ever have a complete skeleton. But this is what we know we have based on what the brothers found, the boys and their dad found. We know we have a leg. We know we have a leg that's attached to the hips. We know we have a couple of tailbones over there. And then we think we have a decent chunk of the skull. So pretty remarkable. How big is it? Well, fortunately, we had the leg, and based on the leg, you can get a good idea of the size. There's many growth curves for Tyrannosaurus rex that we could place this thing into. So the shin bone or the tibia bone is about 82 centimeters long, and placing it into the growth curve, we estimate that it's about 25 feet long and about 3,500 pounds. And that's compared to 40 feet at an adult and over 8,000 pounds as an adult. And then the age-old question, Nanotyrannus versus T-Rex. So much academic ink has been spilt on this very question. It's just crazy to me. And so the debate is there one T-Rex that just kind of grew up? Is there one Tyrannosaurus in this ecosystem, and the smaller ones are just different developmental stages? Or are there two T-Rexes, not T-Rexes, two Tyrannosaurs? T-Rex and Nanotyrannus, a large-bodied one and then a small-bodied one. And man, there's been so many papers. There was just a couple papers published this year. It was on the cover of the New York Times twice in the same week. People really want to know, apparently, if there are one or two Tyrannosaurs in the Hell Creek Formation. And so really the debate comes down to the growth. And so, does the growth curve sort of look like this? Or does the growth curve look like that and kind of flatten out? And fortunately, let's see. Oh, so I think this is a good summary of the debate right here. There's a lot of big personalities in this debate, and I don't think we're going to change their minds one way or another. But this specimen is going to be really important for shedding new light on that question, because this whole debate is being fought over basically 5 specimens. There's only about 5 or 6 juvenile specimens. Otherwise, all the rest of them are adults. So there's only 5 or 6 smaller bodied ones. So there's just been this back and forth over the same data. We're interpreting it in slightly different ways. So it's always nice when you actually have new data. And that is what the specimen that they all found will provide. Because fortunately, we have a good chunk of the skull, and that's the main way to differentiate between T-Rex and Nanotyrannus. And then we have the lower leg. Well, we have the whole leg. And so with that, then we can take the leg, we can cut the bones, we can do the histology, and we essentially look for lines of arrested growth, tree rings essentially, and we're able to get a good estimate on the actual age of this particular specimen. So we'll actually be able to push this argument or debate a little bit further down the road, which I think is nice. And then what other animals are part of this exhibit, Discovering Teen Rex? And you can see there's quite a few. We have quite a few dinosaurs. Of course, T-Rex is the star of the show, but then we supplemented it with a lot of dinosaurs from our collections, one that my team and I have been going out and collecting over the last several years. And so you can see some of them there. These are some older photos. A lot of the artwork is not up yet when these photos were taken by Rick, but this just gives you a sense of what that space looks like. It's really awesome. The team here did such a tremendous job on bringing this space to life. Really, really can't believe it. We of course include lots of the local dinosaurs. So we have the Littleton T-Rex and then the Thornton and Highlands Ranch Torosaurus included in here. And then what's just awesome, right? Like, where can people learn more about Teen Rex? I mean, again, we had giant screen films here for the entirety of the excavation, and this will premiere worldwide tomorrow, including in our very own Infinity Theater. So it comes out tomorrow, and it is awesome. And so I think we have a trailer of the film here. We do indeed. If that doesn't give you goosebumps, then I don't know what. Isn't that awesome? So good. So good. Yeah, and so it comes out tomorrow. And like, again, it was such a special moment or just excavation for me to be able to work with these young fossil finders. So thank you very much. None of this would have been possible without them, and I'm very happy to be a paleontological mentor for them, much like I had my mentor here, Kirk. So I love this 3 generations of fossil finders with Kirk, myself, and the next generation. And then none of this would have been possible without our just amazing team of interns. And this also speaks to the mentorship. We have a lot of mentors or folks that mentor these folks, which are the next generation of paleontologists. There we are at the KT boundary. Here we are at the dinosaur site. Like, does this guy even lift? I mean, so I always like to bring it back to our mission, right? I've been to enough talks with our Vice President, Ed Scholes, and he always talks about how all of our work should be driven by our mission, our mission statement. And I can't imagine something that speaks more to that, of igniting our community's passion for nature and science. And I think we saw that with just the amazing media rollout of this story. I mean, the PR footprint of this thing is incredible. Last I checked, there was almost 6 billion impressions, whatever an impression is, but it's got to mean something, right? So I think jokes aside, it is. I mean, so many people have heard about this story, and because it's just such a great story. And again, it's all thanks to these folks right here, the finders of the fossil, the filmmakers, and our own museum for taking the risk of investing the money to build the space, discovering Teen Rex. I mean, that took a lot of effort on a lot of people's part to make that space a reality. And I'm just so thankful for all of you for making it happen. And then again, none of this would have been possible without our amazing team. Natalie and I are up here, the ones giving the presentation, but all of these folks here, Alex, Sadie, Evan, Salvador, all fossil preparators here at our museum, and they spearheaded managed over 100 volunteers that went through this particular excavation. And so here's just a small subset. And I think that is the other secret sauce of our museum, is having this amazing cohort of volunteers. So with that, I'd just like to thank all of you for your time and entertain any questions you might have. You guys want to come up? Do you want to come up? Oh yeah, we got the fossil finders here. There we go. Give it up one more time, right? Yeah. Pretty awesome.
Here, we'll start right here.
When you guys were out walking looking for fossils, what was it that you saw that attracted you to this place in the ground?
We saw a bunch of little bones and stuff. Liam and Sam did, and we both, me and Justin both ran up there, and it
was big and flaky.
yeah, it's big and flaky.
Yeah, I mean, they found it just the way you're supposed to find a dinosaur, right? I mean, they found big flaky bits of bone washing down the side of the hill, and Justin here, who wants to be a paleontologist, you're the expert in the family, right? He knew they'd found a dinosaur, right? He came up on it and said, oh, that's a dinosaur. And again, it was found on BLM land, and so they did the right thing. They took photos of it. They didn't disturb it. They took photos of it, and they sent it on to an expert. And that's exactly what we tell them to do. And right? So again, kudos to you all.
Earlier you said that the carnivorous bones tend to break like porcelain. Do we know why that is? Like only that their bones act that way and not other kinds?
Yeah, I think that has to do with the pneumaticity of the bones. And so a lot of the bone, they're pneumatic. So meat-eating dinosaurs or that line and sauropods, they'll have much more hollow bones compared to the Triceratops and duckbills. And so there you'll see a broken bone, and it's just trabeculae all the way through, solid trabeculae. And then the porcelain bit is because it's hollow and it breaks up in those sheets. It's not the most diagnostic feature. That's why when I contacted my colleague, and he thought I was stretching the interpretation a little bit, but.
Oh. I zigged when I should have zagged. Can you send that on down for me? Thank you.
So when you were taking the specimen into the museum and you had to remove a lot of the dirt first, are you going to be screening all of that later for smaller fossils?
It already went in the dumpster. But so I guess what was tricky to see is that the skeleton of the dinosaur was preserved in a lens of sand, and it was kind of wedged between two layers of blocky mud. And so we were confident that there wasn't anything we were chewing or chundering through in that mudstone. It was pretty clean. But as we go through the sand body that actually has the dinosaur and the leaf and plant fossils in it, yeah, we'll definitely be looking for microvertebrates.
Have you done a CT scan of the big rock, or are you going right to digging the bones out?
We'll likely CT scan parts of it. I do CT scan a lot of the fossils, and including just a lot of large blocks with fossils inside of it. But even this block is a little too big. 6,000 pounds is a little too big. But we will pull out some of the elements like the dentary and some of the other cranial bones. And we have a great relationship with Lockheed Martin. And we'll take them over there and CT scan them and work up those data in the digital researcher lab here.
All right.
Oh, nice throw. Well done.
How rare is it to find fossil leaves with dinosaur bones?
Not that rare. You find them mixed in quite a bit. If you're looking in a sandstone unit, you'll find leaves. If you're in a mudstone unit, the leaves don't preserve as well. But pretty much every sandstone unit that I've dug in has fossil leaves. Leaves are everywhere.
Great. Maybe.
My apologies if this is a silly question. I'm going through my dinosaur kid phase right now. Can you talk a little bit more about how you found those vertebrae in the tail? They just seem so far away from the leg. Do you do like a perimeter scan? How did that come about?
Yeah, so if you think about like a dead deer or think about a dead animal you've seen on one of your hikes, chances are it's not a whole skeleton, right? Because an animal dies and coyotes and mountain lions and birds are picking away at it. And so the same thing was happening 67 million years ago. So that Jurassic Park scene where they're brushing off that perfectly articulated hand, they lied to you, right? That is not the way paleontology works. So I've been collecting dinosaurs for 30 years, I don't know, a long time, and I've only found a handful of completely articulated specimens, meaning all of the bones are in the right order. Usually, the tailbone's next to the skull bone, which is next to the foot bone. They're all jumbled together. So an animal dies, it's on the surface for a long time, it's decomposing, other animals are eating it. If it does get buried, and that's a big if, it's by the force of water, flooding river. We know in this case that's definitely true because this thing was buried on a sandbar. And so then the water jumbles everything together. And so that's how you get everything mixed up. It'd be awesome to find more articulated dinosaurs, more Jurassic Park scenes, but alas.
Just talk right into it.
Oh, okay. Hello. All right. I wanted to ask, how rare is it to find a carnivorous dinosaur?
It's super rare. I mean, in this rock unit, T-Rex, there's about over 100 known individuals of T-Rex that have been found. But you have to think, that's 120 years of intensive looking. Every museum has dinosaurs in it from this rock unit. Museums have been hammering this rock unit for a long time. And we only have about 100 or so T-Rex specimens. And so they're quite rare. I've been looking for 30 years, and this is by far the most complete T-Rex I've ever had the privilege of working on. So it's an amazing, amazing discovery. And with that said, T-Rex is the third most common dinosaur in this rock unit. It's like Triceratops is by far the most common. They're everywhere. And then you have duckbills, a little bit pretty common, and then T-Rex, and then all the smaller dinosaurs are much harder to find.
All right, cube. There it is. We got 2 more questions over here, and then I think that's probably about what we have for time. Does that sound good, Tyler?
Yep, that sounds good to me.
Firstly, I'd like to agree that the flip was very scary to watch.
Thank you.
Which made me think, I would imagine that you were probably limited in flipping because of the area, but is there any other alternative way to position a large couple thousand pound by flipping it or putting under something? I'm guessing no, but thought I'd ask.
Man, we thought about it, right? We thought long and hard, like, how are we gonna do this, right? And we need more gym time. There's just not enough gym time. We're gonna muscle this thing over. And it was super nerve-wracking because I remember that morning, I'm sitting around having coffee and I'm texting with Sam, and because Sam was instrumental in all of this, like bringing us equipment, the cable that he brought us, that was the cable that we used to flip it over. Right, because we needed a long cable. And then I'm having breakfast with my dad. My dad's like, well, and my cousin, he actually was killed this way because the cable snapped. And I'm like, oh my God, like that's crazy. And so then I'm texting Sam, like, what's the tensile strength on that cable? And it was something like 60,000 or 80,000 pounds because they use an oil-filled type stuff. But there was all of this stuff, right, like growing through my head at the time, and a lot. Yeah, I'm like, Dad, why would you tell me that? So that's why you'll notice when we had that setup, like we had everybody a long ways away, right? Unfortunately, we had somebody from the U.S. Navy, right? Who ex-Navy guy, and he knew how to rig things up, and he did a wonderful job. As did Sam. Sam, who anybody who works in the oil field, they're very practical, very knowledgeable human beings. Unlike us academics, who are just like, let me think about it, So.
All right, I got one more question. Right?
I was just curious if you've got a timeline for what prep is going to be, or if it's pretty variable with something of this size.
Yes and yes. The prep we're estimating will take about a year, but it's so hard to say until we actually get into removing all the rock from the fossil. So as I had mentioned, we've only extracted the one isolated tooth, and that was super easy because it was lying right at the contact between that sandstone and mudstone, but it's hard to say until we actually get going on it. So hopefully a year. One more?
Sorry. Liam just has something he'd like to say, so.
Some of the fun that I got to bring to the dig site is my ukulele. And I got to teach Tyler some of ukulele.
And he's a great ukulele player. All right, well, thank you, everyone.
Thank you all.